Hi guys, it's Keisha Henry from New Beginning Healing Institute. You can see I'm wearing one of my one-day inspiration New Beginning Healing Institute, and yes, this is a different one compared to the one that I had on last week. You can see that the print is a little bit different, but nonetheless it's still one day. So I don't know, did you get a chance to listen to session 3 on courage with Healing with Keisha on this past Saturday? I listened to it again. I listened back over what I talked about. It's very unscripted, as you know, if you've been listening to me, especially those of you in the practice community. And it was encouraging for me just to hear myself talk about what it means to take steps of courage or a step of courage every day. It was very practical. It was very personal, but it was also very inclusive of those persons that listened and perhaps will listen to see and hear how courage was formed by myself, other people's lives, that I have worked with, and perhaps how they can, form courage for themselves. With that said, today's one-day inspiration is really important. When I get on here, it's very much unscripted. By now, you know that. And I want to talk about psychic determinism. It's a word that I very rarely throw around, but it's really important. So psychic determinism is a psychoanalytic term by Sigmund Freud. So people either love Freud or they hate him. I'm one of those persons that I love his work. Yes, I do. But we're not going to talk about that today. So this term basically means that it's unconscious forces, and whatever forces mean to you, it's unconscious, it's not seen, it's not heard, right, but it's felt. Unconscious forces, their unconscious inner drives and past experiences, and they're unconscious, right? And so these elements, they shape persons' mental and behavioral responses, right? That's what that term means, and I like it a lot, and I use that term a lot in my practice when I'm working with different persons, when we're looking at how and why a person may continue to do a behavior over and over again, because a lot of times it is unconscious, but there are underlying reasons for this unconscious behavior. That leads me to my next point about today's one-day inspiration. I recognize for myself personally that there are a lot of voices in the world today, a lot of people on social media, including myself, and everyone has a different message. But you know what I find? And that goes for me too. Remember, unconscious forces, inner drives, and past experiences will shape a person's response to you or what they talk about. And so when these messages are spoken, remember that that's where they come from. And so we have to remember then, how does that include us? We have to remember about what's important to us, who we are becoming, and if those voices are really important for us to take in, because they are unconsciously shaping what we think, what we do, what we buy, what we believe, and basically, what we live out and eventually, shape in our lives. So psychic determinism is a very powerful concept, a very powerful term, and it's a very powerful reality. And so for me on this one-day inspiration, there are times when I find myself feeling negative, and I have negative thoughts. We all have negative thoughts. And then I have to stop and I have to trace, right, the effects of this negative thought. I trace the effects of this negative thought. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? So my one-day inspiration is today, get in the habit of tracing the effects of conversations or words or events on your emotions, because I guarantee you from there, where you peel the layers back, you can see how these unconscious things that people do or say have such an impact on you. Lastly, these impacts need to be really ones that uplift you and not tear you down. And anything that moves you from your focus of becoming who you're designed to be, or that thing that you are marching towards, trace the effects upon your emotions. And lastly, I will say, stay in touch. Arrange to stay in touch what uplifts you. Whether that's, your affirmations, looking at your goal posters, or stay in touch with what keeps you uplifted and keeps you focused. All right, I'll see you next time. And by the way, Saturday, join me for number 4, and we're going to be talking about forgiveness. That's going to be very interesting. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye.